How's it, everybody? Welcome back to Rocky Fern, and we're in the shop today, and I'm going to be turning another cane. A coworker's dad requested a cane for himself, and I figure I have all this guava, so why not? I don't know what we're going to end up with. We don't have the globes that we have to do this time. I don't think I'm going to do any rings. I may, I don't know. But looking at this piece, we're just going to get it roughed out and start. So let's get into it. All right, so here we are, we're inside the forest, and you can kind of see behind me, this is a backdrop of the Strawberry Guava, something that we call Hawai'i. It forms these super dense thickets. You can see behind me, this is actually relatively open for as far as guava goes. It can form very patches, and you can't, even pigs can't get through. It's pretty nuts. They are water hogs. They choke out existing flora, and the natives have a hard time competing with such a aggressive water hog. The scientific name for this plant is Psidium catalagonum, and it is related to the myrtles. It's part of the myrtle family. We do get a lot of uses out of this plant, out of this tree, especially the guaves. Not only are the fruits delicious, obviously invasive, easily spread through birds and other animals. It will survive pigs eating it and defecating and spreading the seeds, not to mention easily the birds. But the wood is pretty dang exquisite. So you can see here, I'll get some close-ups here, but this is a fine bark, fine textured bark, very smooth. In these patches, they'll grow straight up into these poles, and then once they start to get a little bit more space and outcompete their neighbors, then they start to branch out and get really big trunks. That's a little rarer to see. We're gonna see if we can find a tree that I can show you. Janka hardness on this is incredible. Their ratings are anywhere from 2100 to 3700. That's harder than oak, it's harder than rock maple, that's harder than mesquite. It's up there. We're gonna be turning some pretty cool things with this. It also lends itself really well to bending and twisting. It stands up, that's why it makes such a great use for canes. Even wet, it does not crack. As it dries. It's an incredible wood. So let's take a close-up at the bark and the leaves, and then we'll get some, maybe some footage of a much bigger, larger, more mature specimen. So here is a tree right here. This is about what you're gonna see in this little patch, this thickness here. Very smooth bark. This tree actually is coming out of one trunk down here. Splitting off, this tree will eventually probably become one of the mature plants of this forest, and you'll see it, branch out, make really big canopy. Hopefully we'll get to see that. I know up here I have a burl that I want to show you, but you can just see through here just how thick it is. And again, this is as thick as it gets. It can get to be an impenetrable wall. I've seen pig trails, which are the most tenacious animal here on the island, probably the most tenacious animal period, and I've seen their tracks hit these thickets and actually divert around, which I don't ever see. So pretty interesting. The canopy goes up probably 30 feet here, and then once they hit sunlight, they start to branch out, but it's just all of these thin poles, and they outcompete a lot of the other stuff. Now, a lot of the other stuff you can see here in the frame is not native either. We have a lot of gum trees or melaleuca, eucalyptus. There's not a native eucalyptus to the islands, I don't think, but these are all invasives as well. And it's interesting because pretty much everywhere you look, anywhere on the island, all the flora you're going to be looking at is going to be non-native. It's a very sad story. There are patches where you have very thick, rich native ecosystems, but for the most part, those are going away. Something you don't get to see every day. There's a guava burl, about the size of my hand. I will end up taking this, not today, but maybe it'll get a little bit bigger. But I've never actually seen a guava burl before, and so that's kind of interesting. So here we are on the foliage of a strawberry guava, YV, and it's a very smooth, glossy, glabrose leaf, you know, round, thick. Some of the, like the lemon guavas, the normal looking big guavas, they have a fuzzier leaf, much more pronounced leaf veins. But these guys, this is pretty typical what you'll find in the strawberry guavas, the kind of more miniature looking guavas, are these smooth glabrose leaves. Very thick. I don't think the deer eat them. I do think there's compounds in them that make them pretty hard to digest, but yeah, overall, definitely use this wood. Now I've heard the uses of this wood can be for fire, for smoke. They burn really well. It creates a really hot, intense charcoal, which is good. Obviously the wood's great to turn with, so anybody in the islands, I'd highly recommend you start cutting down these guavas. It is considered the most invasive plant on the island, so something to consider. I should say the most invasive tree on the island. I do think guinea grass and fireweed is probably more invasive, but neither of those are trees. All right, let's go find a mature specimen. All right, so here we are. We actually found a really big specimen right off the side of the road. It's a little bit different species of guava. I think it's actually true guava. I don't think it's Guavi. I could be wrong though. It might be YV. But I'll show you a close-up of the leaves. But look at this massive trunk. This is crazy, so big. And if I could take this tree home, it would have such beautiful grain to it. It's got compression grain. It's got some burl action on here. But you know, it's pretty big. I could hug it and not even get my hands around it. Wow, this is so cool. What a cool piece. I'll actually show you kind of this cool little pocket that we're in and do a little 360 around here. But let's get a close-up of the leaves over here and kind of the different fauna that we're seeing, or flora rather. So here we go. Here's a lantana branch, or at least a vine. Here's some more of that Guavi. Another smooth branched variety, smooth bark. Here are the leaves. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. Much more defined leaf veins. You can see that here. But yeah, check out this gnarled piece of wood here. This is crazy. It's just every bit of character you can muster into a tree. But it's pretty big. I'd say it's about 45 feet tall. Definitely old. Take another little 360 here. We got a creek coming over here. Nice little creek bed. Beautiful in here. And then there's some true YV over there. Definitely thicket of YV, some koa. But yeah, wow, cool place, right off the side of the road. All right guys, here we are, finished and done. I did end up giving 2 little rings on it, because why not? I definitely like that. And it doesn't have the amount of striping that the purse cane did, but it's definitely a cool piece. I have talked to the owner of the other piece, and it does have a slight bend to it, but nothing that is you know, prohibitive of using it. And it will, I guess, continue to curve just a little bit. But guava being what it is, it's super durable, super strong. It lends itself really well to a cane. I did a little pommel, I guess you could call that. I'm not sure. Just a little palm place for you to put your hand when the gentleman's walking. And also I like the idea of being able to use this as a way of getting up out of a couch by gripping it this way and kind of pulling your stuff up, and then using this, like I said, as the pommel. Just a cool little decorative piece right here in the middle. Just something to give it a little bit of character. I will end up putting his name etched in here and my logo somewhere down here, maybe right on top. I'm not sure, but I'm going to be giving it today, so I'm kind of glad I was able to knock it out. But join us next week. I think we will be doing the toothpick box one more time. I know I went wrong. You saw in the beginning of that video I cut off a bunch. I wasn't even thinking about that. I did measure it, but I measured it in the beginning and I didn't continue the measurement. So lesson learned. But next week we should be using a piece of koa that's bigger and allow for me to make my mistakes, and we should end up with pretty good results. So join us next week, and until then, we'll see you guys on the next adventure.